Welcome to World Knowledge Channel. Europe, with its rich history and culture, has always been considered the cradle of human civilization. However, in the context of globalization and constant economic and social changes, a big question arises. Does Europe have to trade off its identity to continue to develop? To answer this question, it is necessary to consider the balance between preserving traditional values and embracing new elements of the modern world. Let's explore and analyze different aspects of this issue. Let's find out through this video. We can see that more than 30% of the European population will be 65 years old or older by 2100. Those aged 75 to 84 are expected to increase by 56.1% by 2050, while those under 55 are expected to decrease by 13.5%. Future of .png. And Europe is on the brink of a demographic challenge that threatens to destroy the thriving economic and social systems it has built over the centuries. As populations across the continent age thanks to advances in technology and healthcare that have allowed people to live longer, the shrinking workforce is becoming increasingly evident. The economic vitality and social security systems that have long been the pride of European societies are facing an unprecedented threat that is eroding their potential for growth and prosperity. And the demographic crisis raises key questions about the sustainability and continuity of our cultures. With native birth rates falling and life expectancy increasing, the biggest question Europe will have to answer is: how can the continent maintain its social security systems while protecting the traditional European way of life? However, the seemingly obvious solution of the migration of young people from Africa and the Middle East is an equally big problem for Europe. And this question also raises the issue of social fabric and national cohesion. Over the decades, Europe has faced unprecedented challenges in integrating millions of people from immigration, including attempts at cultural assimilation that often failed, leading to the emergence of immigrant communities that are completely separate from European society. The experiences of France and Sweden, where the immigrant population accounts for more than 10% of the national population, are a warning to European leaders about the cultural imbalance in society. And there is a clear concern that Europe's historical narratives and its future direction may diverge, leading to a future of an old continent where the past is preserved only in museums and heritage sites, rather than in the everyday lived experiences of Europeans. This fear is compounded by concerns about language preservation, changes in the religious demographic composition, and the sustainability of cultural practices that are not valued or continued by immigrants. The threat of indigenous traditions being eroded by the invasion of other cultures by immigrant groups is an issue that is rarely discussed in European leadership circles due to the political sensitivity of the issue. But it has ultimately led to a surge in far-right political movements across Europe, with far-right political movements drawing support by exploiting fears of cultural decline and economic insecurity, viewing immigrants as a threat to national identity. People in European countries are angry with their government's current approach and have elected anti-immigration politicians. Far-right politicians have been successful in countries such as Italy, Poland, Switzerland, and Finland, while every EU country has seen the rise of far-right parties in the past 10 years. But this is not the solution, and stopping immigration will cause significant damage to the European economy for years to come. Europe will need tens of millions of immigrants to sustain its growth in the coming decades, and may lose its traditional identity in the process. This is a reality the continent is starting to come to terms with. The demographic crisis. Europe's old age dependency ratio by region, 2019 data, source: World Economic Forum. Europe's demographic structure is undergoing a profound transformation. The continent, which once had a young workforce that built strong economies after the two world wars of the 20th century, is aging rapidly. A significant proportion of the European Union (EU) population is entering retirement age, with projections suggesting that more than 30% of Europeans will be aged 65 or over by 2100. Those aged 75 to 84 are projected to increase by 56.1% by 2050. while those aged under 55 are expected to decline by 13.5%. This crisis is being driven by good progress, with world-class healthcare systems, healthy diets, and technological advances allowing Europeans to live longer. Social progress has also led hundreds of millions of Europeans to move to cities, where they are more focused on their own career and lifestyle opportunities, leaving very few families in Europe with more than 2 children. At the same time, we can see a more secular Europe, which means less religious pressure for Europeans to have more children, whereas Christianity has been one of the drivers of population growth on the continent for many years. A graying population in Europe has significant economic consequences. The labor market will be the first to feel the impact, with a significant decline in the number of people of working age and a weakening of overall social productivity. This will also mean lower economic growth, higher public debt, and rising healthcare and pension costs, all of which will strain public finances and threaten the sustainability of the welfare system. As the working age population shrinks, there will be fewer people contributing to the economy and more dependents, shifting the economic burden onto tax systems that are already being undermined for the same reason. Europe's economic outlook will be further weakened by these demographic trends. A young workforce is essential for innovation, entrepreneurship, and economic dynamism. The continent is therefore at a critical juncture where policymakers must reconcile the need to support an aging population with the need to invigorate the labor market. Given these challenges, immigration will not only be a difficult choice, but also a necessity for Europe to maintain its economic equilibrium. The potential of immigration. Faced with an aging population, Europe requires a robust solution to replenish its labor market and support its economic structure, and immigration, while controversial, has shown potential to address this issue. Immigrant populations have played a key role in driving economic growth in host countries by contributing to the workforce, starting businesses, and fostering innovation in approaches. Nowhere in Europe is this more evident than in West Germany, which in the 1950s and 1960s took in millions of guest workers, Gastarbeiter, during the post-war economic miracle years to compensate for a shortage of local workers. Many of these foreign workers successfully integrated into society and remained in Germany to this day, continuing to contribute to Europe's largest economy. In recent years, Europe has seen a significant influx of migrants from a variety of countries, with skilled migrants bringing great potential to the labor market. The OECD stresses the importance of integrating these immigrants, including refugees and their children, for a more prosperous and inclusive future for all societies. As we know, many European countries such as Germany are facing severe labor shortages, and immigration is seen as an important strategy to address this and support economic growth. Other solutions, including raising the retirement age or providing financial support for families with more children, will not be as effective as immigration, as in France. Integration success stories show that employment rates have increased rapidly among refugees and recent migrants. 1 in 2 male refugees who have arrived in Europe in the past 5 years has found work. Refugee women from Ukraine, who are more highly educated than most female refugees, have been rapidly integrated into the European labor market. However, immigration is not just an economic issue. It is also a humanitarian imperative for those who have been displaced by war or oppression in their home countries. Europe has a long tradition of providing refuge to those in need, and the recent influx of refugees from conflict zones such as Syria and Ukraine has reaffirmed this commitment. Investments in migrant integration have increased, allowing immigrants across Western Europe to have more opportunities to participate in integration programs. This has been accompanied by more effective policies, and a shift in approaches to integration based on the economic needs of the host country. The digitalization of integration tools, such as language training, has further enhanced these integration efforts. In Sweden, the most popular language on Duolingo is Swedish, which is being learned by hundreds of thousands of immigrants there. The question of whether Europe must sacrifice its identity for development has a simple answer. Development does not have to come at the expense of cultural values and identity. Instead, Europe can find a way to combine the preservation of its precious traditions and cultural characteristics with openness to new elements. In this way, Europe can continue to develop sustainably without sacrificing the cultural heritage that has made up its own identity. If you find the video useful, please share it with more people and subscribe to the channel. Like, and if you have any questions, leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and see you in the next video.